Waiting for it to confirm. Okay. This Hangout on Air is now live. I am sharing my screen. Shayna's acting ridiculous. And 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Thank you for joining us for another episode of The Geek and the Scribe. The Geek and the Scribe is a podcast hosted by Shayna and Jamara, critiquing pop culture, fandom, literature, and arts culture. Our blackness is the lens through which we see the world. Our gender is how we experience it. This is the manifesto of two sisters who are unapologetically Black women interested in discussing, critiquing, and celebrating culture in a world that prefers to keep us silent. Thank you for subscribing and listening to The Geek and the Scribe. My name is Jamara, and I'm your host. I'm a writer, a poet, an author. I am your scribe, and this is my co-host, Shayna.
And I'm your geek. Haha.
Haha. Oh, boy.
Yes, geek I am. Like me, you should.
That's a good segue. Shayna, what's today's show about?
Well, da, 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 da. Today is Star Wars Day.
Yay!
May the 4th be with you. And we're going to talk about, this is going to be part 2 of our Star Wars series.
Awesome.
Well, really, 2 episodes make it a series.
Well, yes, 2 episodes make it a series.
Sure.
It does.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
No,
okay. Yes. Welcome to part 2 of our May the 4th Star Wars series. This series requires some previous knowledge of Star Wars. And what episodes are we covering today?
We are covering episodes 1 through 3.
Also known as the
prequels. That we
prequels.
all love so much.
And by love, you mean
Hate it with a bloody passion.
Right, the movies everyone hated, pretty much.
No, except for people apparently under the age of 30. Those people love it. I don't know why.
I thought you were gonna say under the age of 5.
Oh, no, my kids have better taste.
Oh, okay.
But no, like the only people I know who are like, oh, I really love. I swear, I have not met one person over the age of 28 that is like, yeah, I love the prequels better than the originals. And no, no.
Wait, so I mean, okay, let me confess this. So I might have been in that category of people by age range when this movie came out. And I only say that because I saw the prequels when I worked at the Simon's IMAX Theater, which is in Boston, which is connected to the New England Aquarium. So I had the chance to see all, they I don't know if they still do the midnight releases now, but they did the midnight release. People came in costumes, and then we saw it on this giant, I think it's like, I don't know, like 27, foot.
Yeah, it's what, 3 stories tall?
Right, exactly. 3 stories tall and 3 stories wide screen with this amazing surround sound. And back then there weren't as many options in terms of stadium seating and this like deluxe movie experience. Like, so really it was the most premium way that you could watch any new movie.
When those movies came out, Simon's was the only IMAX theater in Boston. Right. There wasn't another. That was it.
Right. Exactly. So I mean, I don't know if I really can't vouch. I really can't go to town for the prequels because they're so problematic. Yeah, I mean, I did see them in the coolest possible way that was available at the time in terms of movie theater options. So I mean, that's kind of dope. But I mean, other than that, we should probably just
take it for what it is.
Yeah, take it for what it is. So we're gonna run through. You have a list in front of you, Shayna. We're gonna run through some problems We'll just say problem areas. We'll just call it like acne with the prequels, and then talk about some of the things that we really love about them.
So the prequels are a zit I would like to pop, is what you're saying.
Essentially, yes.
Okay.
And more importantly, a zit you would like to pop on like a week when you're broke and don't really have any money to go get anything from the drugstore.
Yeah, no Oxy or Clearasil this week.
No, so you're just at home working on it, staring at it.
Trying to figure out how to pop it without leaving that giant red mark.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
Okay then.
Yeah. All right. Kick us off. What do you got?
All right. Now, as I did in the last episode, which I feel I didn't do that well, but I'm going to do it much better today, and here we go. As all space operas / fairy tales should start a long, long time ago. Well, like 30 years before our main story, some shit happened that sounded really cool, but ultimately was kind of lame. These are the Star Wars prequels.
Is that your summary?
Yes.
That's awesome. Okay, cool.
Oh man, where did they go wrong? Now, part of me wonders if maybe our expectations were too high. That could have been it, but it wasn't it. Only it was George Lucas's giant hubris that killed it terribly. But let's talk about why the prequels didn't work. And I think why I feel like people are so personally offended by them, because it's not so much that George Lucas made a couple bad movies, because God knows he's made bad stuff before. Like, can we say Star Wars Christmas Special?
Oh my gosh.
Can we say Ewok movies?
Oh, I like the Ewok movies.
We like them as children. Have we watched them as adults?
No, I forgot about them.
It's probably best we don't. But keep it all those happy memories. I feel like if we watch it now, it'll be kind of like when I watched Sailor Moon after watching the new series, and I went, why does this look like garbage? Because it did look like garbage, because the animation was bad. But I don't want to tarnish those happy childhood memories.
No, exactly. I think the Ewok movies, it's like the memory of the Ewok movies in the distance feels warm and comforting. But like the reality of it is like actually sleeping with one of those Ewok toys that they made, which were just like they look like teddy bears, but they were they were
hard. The chubbles.
Right, they were non-cuddly. They had these like hard heads and these battery packs, right? So like the reality of the Ewok is that it's not as cuddly.
It's not cuddly.
Not cuddly. Okay. So anyway, keep going.
Okay. So now, like I said before, I think I said this to you before too, like it's not so much that I hated the movies with a passion. It's that they hurt my feelings. I wanted something that I didn't get. And I was hoping for something that I truly, truly didn't get. And I haven't gotten until Force Awakens came out. So let's talk about, again, why these movies didn't work. First up, story. Why doesn't the story work? In theory, it should be a good story. Like if you summarize it, just think about, Galactic Civil War breaks out. Jedi struggle to stop it. They are unable to stop it. In the meantime, they think they find the chosen one from an ancient prophecy, and that's where you fuck up right there. I realized, like 2 sentences in, that wasn't necessary. How about the focus of it wasn't necessary? We didn't even need to meet Anakin when he was a child. Why was that important? That's one of those things you could have told us in like exposition without actually showing all that. Yeah, no. It could have been a great epic about the Jedi at the height of their power. Yes, we wanted to see what caused Vader to fall to the dark side. Yes, but you know what? In a way, it probably would have worked much better as a subplot, while the main plot being the destruction of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, no, I feel like that would have worked better.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to keep going? I feel like I have thoughts. I have thoughts about that child actor who played Anakin.
I did not like him.
And I just don't understand that. I just don't understand that kid. Keep going, keep going, keep going.
Because George Lucas thought he was perfect. Duh.
No.
No.
But okay.
Look, I know it's hard to find really good child actors, but my God, that kid was not a good actor at all. Like, at all. And really, he just came off as annoying.
Right, exactly. We'll come back to that because I feel bad. I feel bad starting with being like, we hate a small child.
It's not that he's a small child. We just do not believe he did a good job in the movie.
Oh boy. Anyway, keep on.
Anyway,
all right, keep on.
All right. Story. Where else? Okay. What else about that story doesn't work? It's almost like I almost wish I had like a board behind me where I could just slash off aspects of the story and be like, no, you don't work it. You don't work it. I feel like I'm indefinite, like, disappear. Okay, I'm done. Anyway, but yeah, okay, the Messiah storyline, wow, so much of it not necessary. A lot of, which brings me, actually no, a couple more things. The love story also sucked. And I'm not sure if it was the story itself or just real bad dialogue, but we'll get back to that. Man, if you were supposed to be playing up to me that Anakin and Obi-Wan were close as brothers, you did a piss-poor job of showing that to me. Sometimes show, don't tell. Emotions in relationships are better to show, don't tell. Damn it. Anyway, yeah, and you did a piss-poor job of explaining why, in the end, Anakin doesn't trust the Jedi. Why does he all of a sudden suddenly have a huge moral change of like his whole morality turns a complete 180, and you didn't show me really why? Because he was afraid of losing his wife? That couldn't have been the only reason. He didn't do that when he lost his mother. Like, you didn't do a good job showing me that, George. Shame. So, do you have anything to say about the storyline, Jamar?
Yeah, I mean, I have comments on what you're saying, so you can keep going and finish, and then we'll loop back because I'm taking notes.
I think I've covered most of the main issues. And the complete non-necessary mousetrap game that Palpatine and Dooku were doing. Like, come on. Like, it was too complicated and not necessary. You could have streamlined that and made it better. Like, his deep scheming could. Sometimes schemes are simpler than that. It's the simple things that people miss. That's what makes a really cool twist in scheme, because it's something that's so obvious, that should have been obvious, that was going on right underneath everyone's nose, and the protagonists miss it. That's what makes a good twist from the villain. Now, what was going on was too complicated and too technical, and what the crap, George? Dude, what the crap? Anyway, I think that's as much as I think those are, for me, the basic failings of the story.
Well, let me respond to some of those, because I think you definitely have some good points. So, I mean, I think so. Okay. So one, the writing in the prequels just doesn't feel as strong. I don't know. I don't know why, and who, and how, but the writing certainly doesn't feel very strong. And I mean, we see it. I think we see it the absolute most in the relationship between Padme and Anakin. The lines that he feeds her, these kind of like weird, like weirdly delivered, weirdly structured lines that are essentially like passing her a note saying, "I like you," like circle yes or no if you like me. But it is also just, it feels like there's no real chemistry between them. It feels very forced, very, of course this is the love interest, you know what I mean? And I mean, and the problem is that, you know, by the time you see the prequels, you've already experienced the love relationship between Leia and Han, right? So like a relationship that's built on two people who have creepy. Sorry for our listeners. We're recording this live on Google Hangout on YouTube right now, which has the capacity to like draw and write things on the screen. So Shane is writing little weird notes. Anyway, so
no, Anakin and Padme are creepy. And
yeah,
for anyone who can't see it, they're creepy. That's the best way to describe it.
It doesn't feel good. So yeah, so I mean, Leia is such a strong autonomous character who has so much swag in her own right, and then Han, this kind of like, I don't know, fumbling smuggler traitor, but also has a little bit of swag. And there's just something about them where you're just like, oh, if they were to do it, I bet it would be so hot. You know what I mean? Like,
No, totally.
it's kind of this push pull, like, you want me, no, you want me. Like, and it's just it feels really organic and just really kind of like nasty but funny and playful. Whereas like Padme and Anakin, it just feels so forced, and maybe they also feel too young to have, like, they just feel really young to me. They feel like middle school love, and not this kind of like,
yeah, which is weird for two characters who are supposedly very worldly. She was a queen. She's a senator. She should be more emotionally mature than this.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's just that. I think that child actor, okay, what's his name? I'm going to Google him right now. Let's just take care of this.
I don't think he ever did anything else.
Oh, God. Okay. Because I'm like, who is this kid? Because I don't understand where they found him. I don't understand how he got cast. And I'm like, just maybe he's like somebody's nephew. Like, maybe
you mean like that girl in Legend of Korra? Not Legend of Korra, the last Airbender movie. The chick who played Katara, she was somebody's relative. That's how she got the role.
Yeah. So I'm like, let's just Google that.
She's like, because I need answers.
Mm-hmm. Because I just don't have enough data, and maybe a listener, someone listening, will actually like find out. Okay. Young Anakin Skywalker was played by Jake Matthew Lloyd. Born March 5th. Happy birthday, Jake, just passed. 1989. He was born in Fort Collins, Colorado. He's the son of William Bill Lloyd, an EMT, and his mother was an entertainment agent. He began his acting career in 1996 playing Jimmy Sweet in 4 episodes of ER. Then he was cast as Jake Warren in Unhook the Stars. He got his big break playing Jamie Langston in Jingle All the Way. I don't remember him in Jingle All the Way.
Was he the little boy from Jingle All the Way? The main character's son? Arnold Schwarzenegger's son?
Was that Jamie?
Yes! Remember, think about Arnold Schwarzenegger saying the name Jamie.
Okay. I would need to, I feel like, sorry, I just switched so I could, like, actually see.
It's chocolate, Jamie. Sorry.
Okay, so hold on. Let me finish reading his, so that, I mean, none of this helps anything, but it just makes
She's trying to make sense out of a chaotic world.
Yeah, it just makes me feel in control of my life. So, what else? So he was in Jingle All the Way. He played Mark Armstrong in Apollo 11. He gained worldwide fame when he was chosen by George Lucas to play young Anakin Skywalker in the 1990 film Star Wars, Phantom Menace, blah, blah, blah. After portraying Anakin in a chain of related video games, Lloyd retired from acting in 2001.
Everyone hated him.
No, no, we're just making... Hold on, brace yourself, Shayna and listeners. So, okay, this is where it gets juicy. So, after portraying Anakin in a chain of related video games, Lloyd retired from acting in 2001, citing bullying on part of classmates and the stress of doing up to 60 interviews a day as his reason for doing so. Hold on.
That sucks. That's actually kind of sad.
He left Hollywood. He went to Chicago, dropped out of school where he studied film and psychology. Hold on. Lloyd there's a post-Star Wars section, guys, so just brace yourself. Lloyd continues to make appearances at sci-fi and comic book festivals. In 2012, he announced he was directing a documentary highlighting the Tibetan refugees in India who are attempting to escape persecution by the Chinese. Lloyd was commissioned in 2012 to create a promo for singer Mallory Lowe's song. And Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones actor Daniel Logan, who played young Boba Fett in the movie, was cast as the star in this video. Okay, this is getting so far nothing. On June 7th, he currently lives in Indianapolis, Indiana. And on June 17th, 2015, Lloyd, going by the name of Jake Broadbent, was arrested for reckless driving without a license, resisting arrest. His mother, Lisa, stated that Lloyd suffers from schizophrenia and that the driving incident was brought on by him having failed to take his medication. She added that Lloyd attacked her at home in Indianapolis the previous March 26th, also due to his struggles with the condition. In April 2016, he was transferred to a psychiatric facility after being diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Oh, well, that's not happy. See, now don't all you people out there feel bad for wishing terrible things on this child. Now, I say he wasn't a good child actor because most child actors aren't. But damn, some people held him personally responsible for the fact that Phantom Menace sucks so hard.
Oh no!
So bad.
Well, okay. So perhaps. Oh, I felt some kind of bad. So I'm sorry. Okay. So let's look. Maybe not our favorite performance, but we all hope that Jake Matthew Lloyd, gets better.
Yeah.
And we don't want to make fun of his mental illness because we are supportive of self-care first and foremost, and that we just hope he's getting the treatment and support that he needs. He's 27, he's a young guy, and just hopefully he's taking care of himself. So Jake, just take care of yourself. Don't worry about those Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
Like, Jake, just be like every day, just be like, fuck Star Wars.
I feel like thank your lucky stars you're only in one. Poor Hayden Christensen took way longer to get his career back. Like,
yeah.
Like he kept acting, and there were years where he had a hard time getting a job because everyone was like, Star Wars.
Okay, well, we broke that story here. Thanks to Wikipedia. What else? Hold on, let me look at my notes because I'm like, we gotta not talk about Jake now.
I know, we gotta move on.
Let's move on. Matter of fact, let's just go positive. What do we like about the prequels?
Okay, well, other than the bad dialogue and the bad acting, I'll be fair. I don't think there was bad acting in the prequels. And I'm sure people are like, what? No, hear me out. There's a reason for this. No burning me in effigy, okay? There wasn't bad acting to me. What there was bad directing. Because there are moments where you can see the actors doing the best they can. And matter of fact, if you think about the moments in the movie where there is no dialogue and they just have to emote just based on their expressions and they just kind of have to be in the moment, those moments are good. They work. They, like, the scene in Coruscant when Anakin and Padme are separated and they're both kind of like having an introspective moment where they're wondering what the hell they're going to do next because they're this like terrible, they're in this situation and they know it could go so bad, and you see them both like gazing into the distance almost as if they were looking at each other, and there's a moment you see Anakin start to cry. Now that was a good, actually pretty powerful moment. How when Padme first tells Anakin she's pregnant, you can see the look on his face, the range of emotions he goes to between being terrified and happy and surprised and sad and back to terrified. Like, you see that play on his face, and so hats off to you, Hayden Christensen. And even though I've vocally said that Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader is a giant human bitch baby, but
what? Okay, Shayna. Bitch baby. That's that hashtag bitch baby. Go ahead. Just go.
Yeah. No. That totally reveals at least one of the shows I watch. But when he doesn't, but in the moments where he's supposed to look menacing, tell me he doesn't at least look somewhat menacing.
Yeah, because he looks menacing and naturally. It's like his resting menace face. But go ahead. Yes.
Like, so it was there. Their acting ability, and a lot of these people are very good actors. So the acting ability was there. So I blame direction on it not cohesing and all off it. Jeff Goldblum impression. It popped out. Definitely more directing choices. Actors really depend on that, and they really depend on their directors to tell them what they're supposed to do, and bad directing can really kill you. Despite the laughable dialogue, they probably could have pulled a lot of it off had the directing been better.
Right.
So, moving on. So, I will not knock their acting per se. It's other factors that make it bad. But, things we liked. I wrote a list.
Okay, awesome. All right, you go. And then I have a few things too.
Okay.
The drama.
All right. First and foremost, my God, are the graphics beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So, for people who, millennials and below, please understand that CGI was not a mainstream in our movies yet when Star Wars came out. This was 1999. God, I was like 14. This is 1999. And it was not. And trust when I say the few movies that it was in, it was a little questionable looking. So I want you to understand our 3D effects and animation were not great then. They were not great. But Star Wars was one of the first movies who pulled it off on a grand scale. For that alone, is kind of a trailblazer. Nobody had really pulled off expansive backgrounds and environments in CG before. So, hats off for Lucas Design for that. That was great. Visually, it was beautiful. I could have turned off the sound and just watched it that way. Probably not a best endorsement for a movie, but I could still look at it and enjoy it visually. Kind of like that movie Snow White and the Huntsman. I could totally watch without the sound. I get tired.
It essentially makes great wallpaper screens for your computer.
It's beautiful.
Or posters for your office or dorm room.
It is absolutely beautiful, and that much I appreciate. What do you call it? Design is my next one. And my God, like everything from the design for the environments, the design of the spacecrafts, the design of the personal designs of the characters, and oh my God, the wardrobe. Especially Padme's. My God, her wardrobe. I want Padme Amidala's closet and her stylist, because I would like some crazy hairstyles too.
Yeah, totally. Very cool. Met Gala cool. Like
I know, like I
totally been worn to the Met Gala. Mm-hmm.
I totally want to cosplay as her one day, but I know that'd be the most expensive cosplay ever. But still awesome. By the way, anybody else notice Keira Knightley was one of her body doubles?
Oh, I think I knew that, yeah.
She's the one who gets killed in the second one when they try to blow up her plane.
Right.
I think that was Keira Knightley they blew up. Mm-hmm. I want to say that was her. I did not know until way later, and someone was like, "That's Keira Knightley," and I had to go and look at the scene. I was like, "Oh, well, damn, that is Keira Knightley." That's just like I was rewatching that movie Wanted recently. Totally, Star-Lord is in it from Guardians of the Galaxy. He plays the douchey best friend. Anyone who's seen that movie, douchey best friend is Star-Lord. If you've never noticed it before, notice it now. Go back and watch douchey best friend banging his best friend's girlfriend and say, "Hey, that's Star-Lord." But moving on. So yeah, costume design was. And you know what? Costume design and design for it, these are all things that pretty sure got nominated for different awards. I probably should check that out, but if memory serves, they were. So yes, beautiful. Again, visually awesome. I just wish everything else was as awesome as the way it looked. Now, number 3, because I only have 5, because that's as best I could do. Anyway, without copying somebody else's list entirely. What you call it? I gotta stop saying that. The cast, and I don't mean the cast as in the casting, because some of that casting I question. With the exception of Obi-Wan, I will never question the casting of Obi-Wan. Ewan McGregor, we'll get to him, because he's like number 4 on my list. Just him. Anyway, cast. My God, it was such a diverse cast. And this was the least white Star Wars, and I appreciate it. Even Jimmy freaking Smits is in it. Like, so we got Hispanic people, there's some black people, we had some Asian people in there, which there was none of in the original series. Like, with the exception of Lando, name one other black person or non-white person that was in it. Go ahead.
Yeah, we'll wait. Yeah, okay. We should.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be waiting forever.
You can't find anyone. Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm not talking about anybody who's under a bunch of prosthetic. Yes, those exist, but unfortunately, we could not tell. With the exception of the blue dancing chick, pretty sure she's black. Either she's black or she was Asian. I can't remember which. I want to say she's black, though, underneath all that paint. But I could be wrong. I'm just trying to base it off features, since obviously you can't see her skin color. But yeah, moving on. But to see such a diverse-looking cast, because even some of the characters, you could tell what the ethnicity of the actors were even underneath their makeup. And again, I appreciated that there was more diversity in the cast. You know, I gotta say, I was excited as crap when I heard Samuel Jackson was going to be in those movies. Like, I'm like, there's a black guy in charge. He's like the second in command of the Jedi Council. Only a little green alien is above him. Awesome. And he's supposedly the best fighter there. Great, some more. But that, like, again, until the newest movie that just came out, we did not have that much diversity in the original series. And it was good to see that. And I appreciate that. And I will say I will at least own that as my number 3 thing that I love about the prequels. Man, thank you for giving me new characters, different kinds of characters, different alien races, and everything else in between, instead of the kind of all white all the time with that one spot of black.
Okay, is that your list?
No, I have 2 more.
Okay, go.
Okay. And number 3, Obi-Wan Kenobi is freaking magical. Like, Ewan McGregor, you are a unicorn. Thank you for saving so many scenes in what would have been an awful movie to watch if not for you. Like, honestly, like, look, like most people, I was excited about the prequels when they first came out. And to some extent, I liked them. Hell, I even went and saw the 3rd one on my 20th birthday. Like, even though I will admit that there was some slight disappointments about the previous 2, especially with the scary Yoda and Phantom Menace. But, man, Obi-Wan, like, just, Ewan McGregor, you made some terrible dialogue work, and thank you. Because what brings me more joy than in Attack of the Clones, the death stick scene. I love the death stick scene. He's like, you want to buy any death? You want to buy some death sticks? You just want to sell me death sticks. You want to go? I don't want to sell you death sticks. You want to go home and rethink your life. I want to go home and rethink my life. Like, oh, I love you. Like, that scene always makes me laugh. And people can say what they want about it, but it probably has a lot to do with the way Ewan McGregor did it. Like, the way he played the scene worked for me. And I laugh every time I see it because it's one of those sort of funny moments that he made more funny. And I appreciate it. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Even though you laughed when you were talking about Anakin killing younglings, I don't blame you. The dialogue was a little ridiculous. Okay. Yay, thank you, Ewan McGregor. And last but not least, best looking fight scenes ever. Mm-hmm. Like, anything kept me coming back to the prequel series, it was the lightsaber fight scenes. I have wanted to see cool lightsaber fight scenes. And by the way, I am not one of those people who really loves like gun scenes or stuff in movies. I love movies with cool hand-to-hand combat. And I will take weapons, but I love more edge weapons and things, or staffs and things like that. I love things that are very physical when I have to watch it, just because it looks cool. What do you want from me? And man, the Jedi, getting to see what the Jedi were supposed to be capable of for the very first time, despite the fact the movies weren't great, man, it got a charge out of me. Like, oh, that fight with Darth Maul, perfect. Like, even though technically, and somebody pointed this out, that technically Yoda fighting is kind of out of character, I don't care. It was awesome to see. I wanted to see Yoda when he fought Dooku. I wanted to see Yoda take on Darth Sidious. Like, that was awesome. Sucks he didn't win, but it was still awesome. Like, thank you so much. Like, thank you so much. Yay.
Look, you're welcome, Shayna. Not that I did anything.
No.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Look, George Lucas can do something right.
Oh, boy. Leave George alone.
No, I will not leave him alone. I will not sit down for shoddy bullshit. And fuck you too for Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. That was bullshit. You cannot survive a nuclear bomb in a refrigerator. You can't. It doesn't work. No. Anyway.
Okay. All right, Shayna. You sit in the corner, and I'm gonna respond to your bullets now. You just hold yourself and rock. Okay. So I definitely agree with you that visually, I mean, visually they are good movies to look at. Some of the scenes in the Senate are amazing, and you know, I mean, we obviously have to pay homage to the fact that the original movies were lots done like on set, lots of hand painting in terms of the
practical effects.
Right. I mean, those were also visually wonderful movies. Yeah, times have changed, and what we can now do and see on the big screen has changed. So I mean, I think it is important to note that these movies are visually beautiful to look at. I know in the first part of this series, I mean, we're gonna do Star Wars later too, especially this summer. So probably in August.
Yeah. Well, hey, Rogue One's coming out this holiday season, so.
Right. So this is only
this summer. Sorry.
So I mean, I think I mentioned in the first part of this series that, you know, for me it was still really complicated, and I had really strong feelings about not being able to locate myself in the original set of movies in terms of race or gender, and just really feeling like I needed to identify with the non-human, non-white characters, because that's where I needed to like become them in order to ignite my own imagination and really invest myself creatively in the storyline. Well, the prequels is a little different. I didn't really feel like I wanted to be in the prequels. And so part of me just had a different level of just sit back and watch them versus like I need to be in this quest, you know, which is how the first ones just make me feel. I just want to be in it. I want to be in the desert. I want to be on the ships. I want to just like have a lightsaber. But I mean, the prequels don't evoke that emotion for me, so that's okay. So I mean, also I think the non-human characters are not that interesting to me in the prequels. I think they're like Jim Henson light, and as someone who really loves Jim Henson in puppetry and Muppets, I just kind of like whatever. So that to say, I really love the casting though. So I mean, I love Liam Neeson. You talked about Ewan McGregor. I love Natalie Portman. Say what you like, but I really, not you personally, Shayna, because I don't think you're.
Again, I blame directing, not so much the acting.
Yeah, so I think Natalie Portman was great. I think it would be remiss of me not to acknowledge Frank Oz's voice as Yoda.
Yeah, I'm so glad he came back.
Right, exactly. So that feels like a really big moment in cinema and history for me, or it felt like that for me. So I mean, I think the casting was really good. Obviously, you mentioned Samuel L. Jackson. So even if I didn't necessarily like the characters, or and I thought there was like redundancy in terms of villains and just like plots that didn't need to be plots or subplots or even exist at all. I did appreciate more of the actors than not. So that made me happy. I think the prequel is a smidge more family oriented. I think they're family movies. Although I remember seeing the other episodes as a kid in the 80s and early 90s. I mean, I'll also confess that I watched them, but I was kind of like, there's a lot of browns and like boring color. You know what I mean? Like,
it's not as bright.
I think the prequels are definitely more candy. They're a little bit more like toyish. They're just like a younger. Yeah, it just feels like something sweet to like suck on, like hard candy, like butterscotch in like your grandmother's purse or something. Like it just feels like fun and upbeat. So I think that is a positive for the prequels. What was I gonna say? Oh, so this is like a small thing, but I'm really into the purple lightsaber. I think it's just the coolest thing. So that made me happy. And then CGI, love it or hate it. I mean, it's here and it's here to stay.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere.
And the prequels were kind of just like, yo, if you don't like CGI, F you. You're going to have to deal with it because this is how we're going to do movies moving forward.
Oh, you mean like when they added the scenes in the extended editions?
Yes. Well, that was just weird. I already said this, but it just caught me off guard, and I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So, but
no, some of those changes were not good changes.
I wish someone would like start a 501c3 whose mission it was to ensure and regulate the appropriate use of CGI. So someone go start that nonprofit, and then you create rules and regulations about how to adapt movies and use CGI without going crazy. So anyway, so I created this list.
There is a person who does that, by the way.
Who?
That's what the what you call? Oh God, what's their title? There's a person who works at every studio who's kind of almost like a content editor for when they're like one of the. It's kind of like one of the producers, or it's a job that has a title, but I can't remember the title. It sucks because I knew what it was earlier. But essentially, they're the ones who go through the scripts with the script writers, and they're like, okay, this doesn't work. We're gonna need to change this. This is too expensive. There's that person.
Well, that person might have gotten laid off. Okay, so maybe that's the problem. Okay, no one got laid off in the making of Star Wars, and if they did, I wouldn't know. So
Star Wars was kind of one of those things that was thought too big to fail type thing.
Yeah. So, okay, so I made this list, and this, Shayna, you can respond to these questions. And they're not necessarily questions based in reality or anchored in anything. They're just more meant to think about the possibilities, right? So I think of the prequels as the set of movies where they essentially were just like sticking in anything and just changing things freely without any consistency to the originals. So, I mean, which is what I'm calling them now, the originals. So this is like in that vein. These questions are in that vein. Like, what if we could just freaking change anything we want to change just because we want to change it? So, all right. So my first question is, do we ever actually believe that Anakin won't turn to the dark side?
Nope.
No, of course we don't. He was like this just rude little kid. I mean, he seemed like evil from the jump. There just was no. So I feel like if we had just even taken out this possibility that he could have actually been on, good, then this would have been so much more interesting. Let's just be like, this kid essentially is the devil's spawn, and he's gonna be bad, so it doesn't matter.
See, this is what I was talking about his immaculate conception story, that storyline that they introduced, but then they just dropped like 30 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
like, some people say it was a Sith Lord that created him because there was a Sith Lord who could apparently create life through the Force and all that shit. But they don't really say shit about that until the third movie. So, yeah, fuck you and your storytelling, George Lucas. But no, first of all, because the original series exists, you know who Anakin is. You know who he's going to be. This is why I felt it was so key to tell this story in a slightly different way. Why some things should have been simplified, why he shouldn't have been the main character. Because you already know what happens to him. You're just showing what happens before that. You know he becomes Vader. You know he helps hunt down all the Jedi. Like, these are things we know. We know he's Luke and Leia's father. We know this shit already.
Yeah.
So why is this your main focus?
Yeah, exactly. So take that question with me to the grave. Do we ever actually believe Anakin turn to the dark side? Of course we don't. No, it seems
pretty obvious. Matter of fact, all of Clone Wars is just... He could have turned evil then, and nobody would have been surprised because all he did was bitch and killed a whole tribe of freaking Tusken Raiders. Like, do we not, like Yoda's like, Skywalker's in terrible pain. Yeah, well, he's killing mad aliens. Like, he killed mad people. He killed, and by the way, if your boyfriend said, I killed a whole tribe, and not just the men, but the women and the children too, would you be ready to comfort him in that moment? That's all I'm saying.
I'd be texting. That's when you send a message to your best friend, like, I need you to pick me up tonight.
Like, not even tonight, now.
Right now. Come get me. Please. Come get me. It's crazy. All right, let's go on to my next question. Would if the entire Padme Anakin love story been better if she was a lesbian and or bisexual?
I think it would have worked better.
I just feel like it just would have solved this awkward non-chemistry thing. If on the balcony scene where like they kiss and then she's like, I shouldn't have done that. If she was just like, I'm just not into guys right now. You know what I mean? I don't know. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't have changed anything in terms of the narrative.
No, not at all.
It just would have made it more interesting. It would have made it more interesting for me. And like,
she's like, now I can be Padme.
Right. I was just like, oh, this would have been so cool if she was bisexual and she was just like, I'm not really into guys like you when I'm into guys. So
I don't know. He's big whiny bitch baby. So
yeah,
maybe she would have been into him.
I just feel like he just wouldn't have been her type. But anyway, that's a question. Another question. What if we could go back in time and take the childhood actor Macaulay Culkin and have him play young Anakin instead?
I don't know. I don't know. I gotta be honest. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Because when Macaulay Culkin was good, man, he was good. But when he was bad, you wondered, why is there Macaulay Culkin?
Well, I only mean Macaulay Culkin from the first movie. I don't mean the other the other ones. But
I know what you meant.
The first Home Alone where he sets all those traps and he's like this good kid, but then he's kind of evil. And like, what is that?
So what you're saying is we're still having Anakin be a little snot then.
But just like Macaulay Culkin. Yeah. And then it just would have been more fun.
Maybe.
I don't know.
If that's where you want to go with it.
Fine. I don't care. I'm sticking with that one. I would like Macaulay Culkin.
No. I like Macaulay Culkin too. Like, well, yeah. Hey, I even like some of his more recent movies, but you know, shit happens. I don't know what he's doing right now.
All right. Move on. So, okay, here's another question. I'm almost done. What if we just shut down the Senate completely and instead we use that beautiful arena to show hologram movies via the Force? Since the prequels love these holograms, right? They're just holograms. Everyone's a hologram. So, like, what if instead of having Senate meetings, we just had, like, Friday night movies on hologram in the Force? How come I think about it, it would be awesome.
But see, that leads me to a question. How come 30 years later, the holograms suck? Think about it.
Yeah,
All the holograms in the original series are mad grainy and they staticky. Like remember, thank you, Obi-Wan can home. Thank you, Obi-Wan. You're my only hope. Like, oh, really? Like, why is your hologram so sucky? Like, they flicker and whatnot. They didn't flicker. I'm like, did technology take a back step in between?
Yeah, exactly. They essentially went from like they essentially went to dial up. That's what we're gonna say.
It's like all of a sudden, it's like if we went back from Blu-rays to like a Betamax.
Wow, you just skipped over the VHS altogether. Betamax. Shayna,
I almost want somebody to comment with like a confused comment, like, what the crap is a Betamax?
All right, everyone, go Google a Betamax and post some photos on SoundCloud. All right, my next question is, what if instead of Jar Jar Binks, we just didn't have him at all?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I am on board with no Jar Jar Binks, because the truth of the matter was, there was no point in Jar Jar. And I gotta say, this is one instance where George Lucas took some damn criticism and understood that people didn't like it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
actively started to remove him from the other movies. Like, when you see him in Clone Wars, you see him for like less than 5 minutes, and he only has like 3 lines, and that's cool. And then in Revenge of the Sith, he didn't even talk. You just see him one time, doesn't even talk. Well, no, like 2 times, and he doesn't talk, and that's perfect. Thank you for not talking. And also, apparently they have a really broken election system on Naboo because they elected him a senator. Think about
it. Think about it. Okay, so what if in The Return of the Sith, there's a scene where Obi-Wan is riding like this dragon? What if they actually CGI'd in the dragon Falcor from Neverending Story instead? Okay, it wouldn't change anything, but it would just make it more interesting.
Well, maybe he needed some luck, and what better than a luck dragon?
Yeah, I was like, I'm not saying it actually makes sense, but that's the whole thing about the prequels. There's just stuff in there that doesn't make sense. So while we're at it, let's just throw in Falcor.
I mean, you know what? And by the way, and as an 80s baby, I should be ashamed of this, but for the longest, thought Falcor was a dog.
Yeah, no, me too.
He doesn't look like any dragon I'd ever seen before, so I was like, puppy.
Well, we've never seen a dragon, so that's fair. Okay, wait, I have one more, and then I want you to go into your gray, good, and evil, and then your wish list for the new series. And so my last one is really simple. It's just I'm really into the purple lightsaber. So what if there were lightsabers and they were red, white, and blue like rocket pops? It wouldn't hurt anything.
If I was a Jedi, I would just spend mad time just spinning it around.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt anything.
Makes me sound like a really stupid Jedi, but.
So anyway, I just want rocket pop lightsabers. That's all.
You could do that. I mean, apparently lightsabers are based on the crystal you use to make them. So if there was a rocket pop colored crystal, you could do that.
Yeah, so that's all. Okay, that's my list. All right, Shayna, take us away with good and evil, and then your wish list for the new movies, and then we're out of here. Go.
All right. So I'm gonna start my conversation about good and evil. Hold on. Oh, sucks. I gotta pull up an image real quick. Okay. So good and evil. I mean, man, there's a lot of talk about good and evil in Star Wars. And obviously we all know that good and evil is represented by the Jedi Order and the Sith. Now, the more I was looking into Star Wars, the more I learned about the Jedi Order and the Sith Order. And there are some very interesting things to pull from that and what it means about the way we see good and evil. Now, ultimately, my sister asked me in the last show, which would I rather be, a Jedi or a Sith? Now, once upon a time, I would have always said a Jedi. But lately, with the the new canon of Grey Jedi, I would probably pick them. And just to try to show you about the differences between the groups, I'm going to read what each group's code is real quick. Take me like 2 seconds. Not actual seconds, but you know. All right, for the Jedi Order, this is their code. There is no emotion, there is peace. There is no ignorance, there is knowledge. There is no passion, there is serenity. There is no chaos, there is harmony. There is no death, there is the Force. The Sith code goes, peace is a lie, there is only passion. Through passion I gain strength, through strength I gain power, through power I gain victory. Through victory my chains are broken, the Force shall set me free. Now, here's the also important Grey Jedi, and this is, again, a very new thing. The Grey Jedi say, there is only the Force. There is a balance between light and dark. Passion yet restraint. Strength and knowledge. There is power in serenity. Victory is only found in the bringing the Force back into harmony. Passion and strength are exercised through knowledge and serenity. To bring back balance, one must strike hard and fast. One must use power to break the opponent. Power requires restraint to bring back harmony. Strike too hard and chaos is born. Knowledge teaches the restraint to keep balance. And there's actually 2 versions of the code, and I just want to read the end of that, because otherwise it's about the same. But there's one part of it that's actually pretty cool. The balance is what keeps me together. There is no good without evil, but evil must not be allowed to flourish.
Whoa, that's kind of deep.
Yeah, and you know what? It's kind of true. And I'll get to that in a minute. But here's what I come to realize lately, is that neither the Jedi or the Sith are completely right in what they do. And here's also what I glean from what's canon, and not some of it is from the expanded universe, some are not, and some are my own kind of conclusions. But here's the thing about the Jedi. The Jedi were not a military force originally. They didn't fight. They did not have weapons. Their weapons came from the birth of the Sith, who tried to wipe them out. Originally, lightsabers originally they weren't lightsabers. They were called Force sabers. And what they were that Sith could actually manifest the Force as a physical entity, like a blade, and they could fight with it. And that was the beginning of the Sith and Jedi wars. Later, the Jedi figured out their own way to create a light-based saber, saber in order to fight. And in the beginning, before they figured out a power cell, they actually had a cord and a battery that they had to wear on them in order to fight. Later, the other thing happened. There's also a key interesting thing about the lightsabers of the Sith and the lightsabers of the Jedi is that, funny enough, the Sith eventually copied the Jedi in their design, but the Jedi, the crystals that create the light in the lightsaber for the Jedi, they're natural. They grow on a specific planet. That's where they get them from. Pretty much all lightsaber crystals come from the same planet. After the Empire takes over, they put an embargo on that planet. Whereas the Sith's crystals are synthetic. The red crystals are synthetic because they don't exist in nature. Also, apparently, the Sith crystals have enough overwhelming power in them that they could shatter the crystal of a Jedi saber, given if the user was strong enough. All interesting things to learn, but the key thing for me was that Jedi weren't fighters. They were Force users. And think about it this way. All Jedi would have in the beginning been kind of like Yoda. Remember in the original series, the way Yoda could just the way he easily moved gigantic objects with ease, and how he was unconcerned with adventure and excitement and those kind of things. Because think of Jedi more like the Buddhist monks that can levitate. Like I know, right?
Mhm.
That's more what they did. They immersed themselves into the Force, and that's what they did. And to them, that was the light. The Sith, on the other hand, more are consumed with the actual power of the Force. And not saying either of these things in practice are bad. And I'm not saying all Sith Lords are bad per se, because it's not that they don't have people they care about. Often not. Sith Lords are very passionate, and that's kind of the thing. It's passion with no control. So utter chaos on one side and too much control on the other. It seems to me also that the Jedi Council may have been a little wrong about their views about restraint. You can have emotion and and still have inner harmony. Matter of fact, the Jedi show that they have emotion. They care about each other. They care about their allies. They care about their master and student relationships. Yoda loved all his younglings, like every single people he had ever had. So why would they say that emotion was a bad thing?
I'm sorry. Did you want me to answer that?
You could. I just
I
took a
don't.
pause regardless.
Yeah.
But,
that's all. Just let it sit in.
Yeah, no. Why would they say
that?
Which to me, again, just proves the Jedi going against their own credo in that moment. Fear. The original Sith Lord was a Jedi who decided to study the dark side of the Force. And when he did that, he became corrupted by it. And that was the first Sith Lord. The Sith also, once upon a time, were in great number until they started killing each other more than they were killing Jedi over their just greed and lust for power. That's where that whole must be only two rule came around.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, the ultimate equalizer in all of this are the gray Jedi. They don't care about who's right and wrong in that situation. They just want balance, because they know as long as there's balance, the chaos is reined in. You can be passionate and care about something, but still find a calm place on the inside, as it were. So yeah, I would totally say I'd be a gray Jedi. I would be the defender of the balance. Like one of my favorite characters from the Clone Wars TV show later becomes a gray Jedi. She starts out as Anakin's Padawan, and she later becomes a gray Jedi. And man, I can't wait till Star Wars Rebels comes back on, because I really want to know if she died at the end of the season. They left the end of the season with her fighting Darth Vader, and I was like, crap. Anyway, but again, like, it does say a lot. When you're talking about good and evil, should we ever be worried about falling into extremes? Extremes never seem like a good place to sit. You're either too far left or you're too far right. And there's never balance in being in an extreme. So maybe the Jedi Council wasn't right. Maybe Anakin was right when he said that Jedi, in a way, are encouraged to love. And maybe that should have been the thing they fostered. Maybe that would have saved them from their destruction. Maybe Luke was right in the expanded universe when he made the reformed Jedi Council, and he allowed Jedis to get married and have families, whereas before the Jedis were essentially priests in a way, or monks. Like, they were not, they took vows of celibacy, as well, not really celibacy, but they essentially said they would have no attachments. So I don't know, just my thoughts about the good and evil in Star Wars. Was the evil that evil? Was the good that good? Seems like there was a lot of mistakes all over the place, and suck be for you, prequel series, for not explaining all that a little better, or showing me that. That's what you should have showed me. Show me. Which all brings me to my wish list. Unless you have something to say about the duality of good and evil.
Wow. Do I have anything to say about the duality of good and evil? Yes. Of course, I have tons. But essentially, you're hashtag Team Gray Jedi.
Yeah, no, I'm totally Gray Jedi.
You're Team Gray Jedi. All right, cool. Yeah. We got it. Go ahead.
Okay. So, my wish list. Now, we all know we have so many Star Wars movies to look forward to. I'm so happy. And man, I really did like Force Awakens, and I probably will watch it again soon. And man, I gotta get the Blu-ray so I can get all the special features. But I really like that movie, and a lot of people complain. There were a couple people who complained. They were like, it's too much like A New Hope. But I was like, yeah, they kind of had to be, because they had to prove that they could make us feel all those warm feels that we felt when we watched the original series. And that was really important to fans. And matter of fact, I heard an old fan say it was like seeing an old friend again. Like, for them, they got the good feels, and that was important that happened. So, looking forward to episode 8 and 9. I have no expectations for them. And that's fine with me that I don't have expectations. As long as you tell me a good story, J.J. Abrams, I am on your team right now. So, yeah. So do me good. Do me good, please. But I do have a wish list for the proposed anthology movies that are supposed to be coming out, that we don't have release dates. We already have Rogue One about to come out, and I am totally going to be watching that. But they do have on the table an untitled anthology, and they have a Han Solo movie. Now, before anybody gets all excited, no, Harrison Ford won't be in it. He never wants to play Han Solo again. That's why he begged them to kill Han Solo off, hence the death of Han Solo. Oh, I give no fucks about spoilers. You should have seen that movie by now. But like, he asked for Han to die, and since a character was gonna have to die, they were like, sure, it can be Han. Let's do that. So no, there'll be no Han in this movie unless it's like in flashback, like he's telling a story, but there'll be a new Han most likely. For that movie, what I want, and as far as knowing the Han family history, I know a little bit. I want to see the destruction of the Solo family, who, I don't know if you know, Jamar, they used to be like this big noble family in the universe, kind of like the Organzas. He was practically royalty. And
I didn't know that.
Apparently his family was kind of anti-empire. They were still pro-republic, so like the empire crushed them. And his family was pretty much, everybody was killed except for Han. And he ends up in either like a prison camp or work camp, something like that, along the way. And that's actually where he met Chewie. And that is the other thing that is super important to me to be in a Han Solo movie. I want to see the meeting of him and Chewie and the sealing of the life pact that they share. Like, to me, that better be the best bro story ever. That's all I care about as far as that movie's concerned. But to see the tragedy of the Solo family and to see the bromance of Han and Chewie, yeah, that'd be awesome. Now, for the other, I really want a Jedi movie. Like, if you're going to do an anthology, do a Jedi movie. Like, I really want that. I really, really want. And here are some of the things I would like to see. I'm not saying all these things. I'm saying here are things I would like to see in any anthology movie about the Jedi. So, I would love for it to take place around the time of the creation of the Sith. I would love to see that first Jedi fall. I would also like to see the creation of Sith, first Jedi fall. I would also want to see that first real struggle. In the beginning, the Sith grew numerous pretty quickly, and a lot of Jedi died, and they were struggling for a while to keep their foothold in the galaxy, just to be alive, for the whole order to even exist. And somewhere in there, I would like also to see the creation of the first lightsabers. Like that is their regroup moment. That was their kind of secret weapon at the time that gave them an edge in fighting the Sith. Like, before that, think about it. Jedi, no weapons. This is the Jedi's weapon, and this is when they get their weapon. There's so much identity in a Jedi in his lightsaber. Like, man, what? I'll send you the link later, but there is this whole video about Jedi and their lightsabers and what's important about the color, what's important about the style and the different styles of lightsabers that exist, not just the single sword one. They're apparently like the double-sided one, the staff ones, the ones with the bent handle, the ones with straight handle, the ones that are called lightsaber pikes. Well, they're called light pikes. and they're kind of like a staff with a short blade at the end. And there's so much individuality, because that was the one space in the Jedi Order that they were allowed individuality. Otherwise, they all kind of dress the same, do the same, with the exception of their lightsabers. It's the one place where they could have identity and have something that's theirs and nobody else's. So, love to see that. So those are my wish lists.
That's a very extensive Christmas list.
Also, I want Lando to show up somewhere in one of those episode 8 or 9, but I'm not holding my breath.
Oh boy. Okay. I think we're right about time, but I would love, so one, we can post that link that you mentioned in the show notes for people to refer back to. My wish list is that someone would create a Prince meme with a purple lightsaber. And if somebody wants to do that and send it to us, I'll post it online, and that would be really cool. I don't have a movie wish list right now.
I take the white one, since that's common with the gray.
Yeah, so that would be cool. So Shana, I think we're just at about time. So I want to thank you as always for your time, and and I want to thank our listeners for listening to us on iTunes or SoundCloud or wherever you listen to us. Just listen, and also comment, because like your comments not only
important, like and comment
are important to us, because we want you to join dialogue, but because it helps other people find this podcast. It's also help us. We take it as feedback so we can learn and grow and do better at this. So we thank you. So thank you for listening to The Geek and the Scribe. This is a podcast hosted by myself, Jamara, and my co-host Shayna, and we're just two really weird girls who like talking about things extensively and adding our commentary about gender, race, and identity on top of really cool things like Star Wars. So today's May the 4th, and we want to wish you a happy May the 4th day.
May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you. Thank you for listening to The Geek and the Scribe.